Scene 1, the storm in the road. The rain had been falling for hours. The wipers screeched across my windshield, barely keeping up with the downpour. Every few seconds, lightning lit up the two-lane road cutting through the woods, followed by the deep growl of thunder that seemed to roll right through the bones of my old Chevy. It was Halloween night, the kind that makes the air feel heavier, like the world itself is holding its breath. I wasn't planning on being out that late, but I'd left a friend's bonfire a little after midnight. The air had been full of laughter, pumpkin smoke, and cheap beer, until the storm hit. Now, as I drove through that endless stretch of wet asphalt and shadows, my phone sat dead beside me, and the radio had given up hours ago. That's when I saw the figure. At first, I thought it was a trick of the rain, a shimmer, a shadow. But then lightning flashed again, and I saw it clearly, a man standing by the side of the road, soaked from head to toe, holding out his thumb. He wasn't waving for help, he was just standing there, perfectly still, staring straight at me as I passed. I caught his face for only a second, pale, hollow-eyed, and yet, familiar. I should have kept driving, but something about him, maybe guilt, maybe curiosity, made me slow down. The rain hammered harder, and I pulled over. That was the first mistake. Scene 2, the hitchhiker. When he opened the passenger door, the smell hit me first, damp earth, mildew, and something else, something faintly metallic. His clothes looked old, decades old, and the water dripping from his sleeves was darker than the rain. "Appreciate it," he said in a low voice. "No name, no thanks, just that flat, toneless whisper." I tried to make conversation. "Rough night to be walking." He didn't answer right away, just stared out the windshield, eyes fixed on the road ahead. Then he said, "You shouldn't have stopped." The wipers thumped, the heater hummed. I swallowed hard. "Why's that?" He turned his head slowly, and in the flicker of lightning, I saw his lips twist into something between a smile and a grimace. "They don't like cars." I almost laughed, thinking he was joking, until I realized he wasn't. His eyes stayed locked on mine, cold and unwavering. "Who doesn't?" I asked. "The ones out there," he said, nodding toward the trees. "The ones that come out when the lights die." And just as he said it, my headlights flickered once, twice, then went out. Scene 3, the darkness. The car rolled to a stop. The rain outside became the only sound, tapping hard on the roof, louder and louder, as if it were trying to break in. I reached for the keys, twisted them, nothing. Dead. Lightning ripped through the clouds again, and for a fraction of a second, the world lit up. I saw the forest around us, black, endless, and full of motion. Shadows that didn't belong to trees. When the light vanished, I swear I still saw shapes moving out there. The man beside me whispered, "They found us." I tried to laugh it off, but my voice cracked. "Look, buddy, if this is some Halloween prank." But he wasn't looking at me anymore. He was staring at his reflection in the glass, eyes wide, whispering to himself. "Not again. Not this year." I looked outside again. Through the rain-streaked window, I thought I saw someone standing just beyond the tree line, a tall silhouette, motionless, watching. Then another. Then two more. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. Then, a soft tap on the glass behind me. Scene 4, the tapping. The sound came again, gentle, rhythmic, like fingers drumming softly on the rear window. Tap, tap, tap. I spun around, expecting to see raindrops. But the motion was too deliberate, too slow. Lightning flashed again, and, for an instant, I saw a pale hand pressed flat against the glass, thin, wet, and trembling. Then darkness. The man beside me whispered, "Don't move. Don't look back again." I froze. The tapping stopped. The air inside the car grew thick, humid, suffocating. My breath came out in shallow gasps. I could smell the wet fabric, the faint rot, the electric sting of ozone. Then something scraped across the roof. A slow, dragging sound, like nails or claws. I tried to speak, but no words came. He turned toward me, face pale as the lightning outside, and said, "They're trying to remember us." "What are you talking about?" I whispered. He looked down at his hands. They were trembling. "They died on this road. Every Halloween. And every year, they come back to see who's still driving." I felt the blood drain from my face. "And you?" He smiled. That hollow, sad smile. I never stopped driving. Scene 5, the return. Something slammed against the car, hard enough to shake it. The lights flickered, the horn blared once, then died again. Outside, I could see shadows circling, faintly glowing in the rain like mist taking shape. Faces. Dozens of them. They weren't walking, they were drifting. I tried the door handle, but it wouldn't move. Locked. Stuck. The hitchhiker reached into his jacket and pulled out a photograph, old, water damaged, the edges torn. It showed a car wreck. Twisted metal, broken glass, and two figures lying in the mud beside it. "Recognize it?" he asked. I leaned closer, and froze. It was my Chevy. Same license plate, same dent on the fender. And one of the bodies looked like me. Before I could speak, he opened the passenger door and stepped out into the storm. "Wait," I shouted, scrambling after him. The rain hit my face like needles. I could barely see through the downpour, but I followed the faint glow of his outline until it vanished between the trees. Then the forest went silent. Scene 6, the woods. I don't remember deciding to follow him, my body just moved on its own. The rain muffled everything, even my footsteps. Each breath came out in white fog, my clothes heavy with cold water. The trees creaked and swayed. In the distance, I heard faint laughter, children's laughter. I told myself it was just wind, until I saw them. Small shapes, darting between the trees, pale and translucent. Some were giggling, others were crying, their faces, blurred, incomplete, like old film burned at the edges. One of them stopped and looked right at me. Her eyes were black hollows, and her mouth opened wider than it should have. "Help us," she whispered. Before I could move, something cold grabbed my wrist. It was the hitchhiker. His eyes were empty now, glassy, his mouth moving without sound. I stumbled back, and then, with a burst of light, lightning tore across the sky. For a split second, I saw them all, dozens of figures circling me, soaked, twisted, reaching out with trembling hands. When the light vanished, the forest went pitch black. Scene 7, the whisper. I don't know how long I ran. The rain had turned the ground into mud, each step heavier than the last. I could hear whispers all around me, growing louder the faster I ran. Some of them sounded like my name. Others sounded like my voice. Finally, I broke through the trees and stumbled back onto the road. My car was still there, headlights flickering weakly like a dying pulse. The passenger door was wide open. I threw myself inside and slammed it shut. The moment I did, the whispers stopped. I fumbled for the keys, turned them, and the engine roared to life. I didn't look back, not once. As I drove away, the rain began to ease, and for the first time all night, I felt like I might make it home. Then I looked in the rearview mirror. The passenger seat wasn't empty. Scene 8, the voice behind me. He was sitting there, soaked, pale, the same faint smile on his lips. "You can drive," he said softly, "but they'll follow the sound of the tires." My throat tightened. "What do you want from me?" He looked out the window as the rain turned to mist. "I just wanted someone to remember." And then, he was gone. No sound, no movement, just the faint smell of damp soil and the outline of his body fading from the seat. The highway stretched out ahead, slick and endless. I should have kept driving, but curiosity, or madness, made me glance at the speedometer. It read 0. Even though the engine was running, the wheels weren't moving. I looked out the window again. The forest wasn't gone. It had followed me. Scene 9, the last sound. The rain began again. Soft at first, then heavier. The kind of rain that drowns all other sounds. I could hear whispers bleeding through the static of it, a faint voice repeating my name, closer with every breath. I turned the headlights back on. There, in front of me, stood every one of them. The figures from the woods. The girl with black eyes. The man with the photograph. The ones who didn't like cars. They stood in the middle of the road, watching, waiting. I pressed the gas pedal. Nothing. The rain pounded harder, and the whispers became screams, dozens of them, echoing through the storm. My vision blurred. The air grew thick with fog and static. I reached for the door handle, but this time, it opened on its own. A hand reached in, pale, dripping, and familiar. It pressed something into my palm. The photograph, but now there was only one body in it. Scene 10, the endless road. I don't know if I ever left that road. Every time I wake up, it's raining. Every time I look ahead, the headlights catch the same twisted trees, the same bend, the same shadows. And sometimes, when the thunder rolls just right, I hear someone whisper from the passenger seat. "Keep driving, it's almost Halloween."